Today on Coffee Break Tennis, we have a monstrous, giant show. Just as monstrous and giant as Mr. Goat, talking tennis cat who usurps other people's property, sometimes in the form of food. We've got the Roland Garros French Open draw for 2022. And of course, we're going to talk about Wimbledon is now the biggest exhibition tournament in the world. There will be no points awarded to players. If you haven't heard that, that's actually true. Not a shock. But first, this.
The crack of the bat. The smell of hot dogs at the ballpark. Welcome to Atlanta Braves Stadium. I am Larry King live, and today we are talking about tennis. Welcome to Coffee Break Tennis Live. Wait, this isn't live.
What an intro in honor of the late, great Larry King and America's great pastime, baseball. Of course, this is a tennis show. And why did I show you Ian Westerman? Well, him and Joel Chasnoff, they wrote this book here, Essential Tennis. It is coming out, I believe, late next week. So do be sure to pick up a copy if you are a tennis player and you have any interest in being a better tennis player. Today's show is going to be very special indeed. We're going to go through all of our stuff like normal. We're going to go through the draw, but we're also going to cut to a show that I recorded earlier. I didn't post the whole thing, but because by the time I got all the files and it was, there's 4 different microphone tracks for that because we got 4 people talking on camera, obviously. By the time I got all the files and everything, some time had passed, so I figured I'd wait until we got to the draw show since it's a special occasion. Also, since we're talking about books, Mr. Goat brought a book here. This is one of his favorite books of all time. It is, in fact, called Cat Facts. Mr. Goat's going to be mad that I didn't memorize the name of the book and had to look at it. But Mr. Goat thinks it's a great book. It's about cat facts. I notice the word there, facts, because it counters many common cat conspiracy theories and mistruths out there. Mr. Goat thought it was important that I plug his book at all, but as well, I mean. But of course, if you're going to go buy a book and you're in the mood, do pick up Essential Tennis. Ian Westerman, of course, I'm sure you know of. Joel Chasnoff, pretty good a tennis player as well. I got to play with him when they came to Georgia and hung out with me and Mr. Pete from Crunch Type Coaching. Of course, I'm sure you've heard of Essential Tennis. That's the YouTube channel of Ian Westerman. I got like a couple 100,000 subscribers. Very, very big channel. Anyways, let's dive right into the biggest news. And I've got some clips of me talking to Ian and Joel and Pete about it. But first, let's go into the New York Times headline. Put it on the screen, please. Tennis tours penalize Wimbledon over a ban on Russian players. This is a very complicated issue. So before you get super upset at me or anyone and comment below, although I do encourage everyone to comment below your thoughts on this, it is a very tricky situation, as I've said before. So let's just read what the ATP is saying in the article. This is, what's his name? Chris O'Cleary, I believe is the name of a New York Times main tennis writer. Anyways, the ability for players of any nationality to enter tournaments based on merit and without discrimination is fundamental to our tour. The ATP is acting in its best interest. In fact, they even go on to say here, skipping down, the leadership of the ATP, including its player council, which includes stars like Roger Federer and Rafa Nadal, I haven't seen anything that says that they specifically voted in favor of this, but I'm guessing that they went along with it. I mean, they must have. They have some pull on the player council, and they've got the player council behind them at the ATP. So I'm guessing Roger and Rafa support this move to strip the ranking points of the Wimbledons. Anyways, including Roger and Rafa, ultimately decided it was important to dissuade tournaments from barring players now or in the future based on political concerns. That's really the key word there. I know this is a war in Ukraine. This is pretty serious stuff, but at the end of the day, I know some people are going to be upset by me saying this, but it is a political concern as far as the ATP is concerned. And who's to stop another tournament in the future, barring players from a different country for maybe something less egregious, less extreme as an all-out war on a fellow sovereign nation, neighboring sovereign nation, I should say. It might not be that, but it could be something that there's a big uproar over, and the next thing you know, they say, okay, let's ban all players from that country. Basically, the ATP, the player council, it sounds like most of them, they don't want this to become a regular thing where you see this in the future. So they're going to make an example of Wimbledon and end it. That is ultimately why Wimbledon is now legitimately an exhibition tournament, because there's no ranking points. Remember Laver Cup, people said it was an exhibition, And then the ATP worked with them, and you get some points, small number of points, nothing compared to what you get for winning or doing well at Wimbledon. But to give it more legitimacy and make it not so much of an exhibition, the Laver Cup now awards some ATP points to players who participate. So that's basically the main point here, but let's read a little bit more and see some other sides. All right, so both tours condemn the invasion of Ukraine, of course, but they argue that individual athletes should not be prevented from competing, in the words of the WTA chief executive Steve Simon, solely because of their nationalities or decisions made by the governments of their countries. Sergei Stakhovsky, who famously, I think it was 2013, he beat Roger Federer at Wimbledon in like the second or third round, shocked the world. I think that was when Lucas Rosol took out Nadal that year too. A recently retired Ukrainian men's player, now in the Ukrainian military, expressed bitterness at this decision, calling it a shameful day in tennis in a post he put on Twitter. Standing by its ban, Wimbledon expressed deep disappointment and said stripping points was disproportionate in light of the pressure it was under from the British government. So that's another key part to this story before anyone, is all crazy supporting Wimbledon for doing this or very much against Wimbledon for doing this. Wimbledon was kind of forced into it by the British government. Wimbledon opted for a ban after rejecting, reading a little more from the New York Times article here. Wimbledon opted for this ban after rejecting the British government's first suggestion. Take a listen to this one they had. Russian and Belarusian players provide written declarations that they were not representing their countries, that they were not receiving state funding or sponsorships from companies with strong links to the Russian state, and that they had not and would not express support for the invasion of Ukraine or their country's leadership. That sounds nice. Except for the fact that you have to remember, a lot of these Russian players, maybe they live in Monte Carlo, like I believe Medvedev does. And although, Vladimir Putin is famous for sending assassins around the world and taking people out with like little, like you just pinprick somebody with some kind of crazy poison, extremely rare poison that you would only, that's how that's how they've discovered these things are from the Russian government. One of them was like, I can't think of the exact language. Basically, it was like nuclear material that they used to kill someone. I think he got very sick and died in a hospital. A very horrible death. That was a guy, I can't remember, some oligarch who had fallen out of favor with Putin and escaped from Russia. Anyway, so maybe you'll feel a little more safe. Maybe, you're thinking, I'm a tennis player. Putin's not going to send an assassin after me in Monte Carlo. But what if you have family? Maybe your parents, maybe you move them out of Russia, but surely you got some cousins. Do you really want your cousins to go to jail, or friends, anybody you're associated with back in Russia, for you taking a strong stance against the Russian government? So Wimbledon, very smart to get rid of that idea. And they're upset with the ATP because they're like, we were between a rock and a hard place. We had to do something. They were trying to make us do this, which would have been really bad. And instead we had to go with just banning all Russian players from Wimbledon this year. And ATP, in their self-interest, they had to strike back. Anyways, the irony of all this, which maybe Vladimir Putin will be cheering for today, although I've heard he doesn't really care much about tennis. He's more into like women's figure skating or something stupid like that. Anyways, stripping points will have consequences on the sport's pecking order. Medvedev, a Russian ranked number 2, is now in excellent position to displace number 1, Novak Djokovic, after Wimbledon, because Djokovic will lose all 2,000 points for winning Wimbledon last year. So there you go. That's the irony of all this. You're going to make a Russian number 1 in the world so that you can protest the Russian government's war in Ukraine. And a thing that probably wouldn't happen because it's not looking like anyone's going to stop Djokovic at Wimbledon this year. Maybe he won't win the French, although I'm giving Djokovic a pretty good shot at the French, which starts tomorrow, by the way. Maybe he won't win the French, but by the time he gets to Wimbledon, and how we've seen not many other strong players on grass right now, no reason why he wouldn't win it again and hold on to the number 1 ranking in the world. This will make that much harder. Djokovic, doesn't matter if he wins it again, he'll get 0 points. And then a lot of people thought, this is great, put this on the screen, Tennis 365, Wimbledon ranking points decision sparking angry reactions from players. A lot of people thought, okay, no ranking points this year at Wimbledon, so we'll just get to keep our ranking points from last year, right? No. After 2 years of that, they've already made a mockery of their own ranking system, the ATP has, by I get it because of COVID. You had to protect some players. Some players couldn't travel or were not comfortable traveling yet. And so you wanted to protect people's rankings while the pandemic was playing out with the coronavirus and all that. And then after a couple years of that, they never really got rid of it. We still have these weird rankings where people are holding on to points from multiple years ago, going back to 2019 in some cases. Very strange stuff. Anyways, so now they're going to make a further mockery of their rankings. It really does kind of suck for them because who cares about rankings anymore? It's going to be one of those situations where for years Serena would skip a lot of tournaments but still always be the best at the majors. And some other player, usually like a Russian player, like Dinara Safina, would be number one in the world. I think Amelie Mauresmo might have been another one. And people would say, like, you're not the real number one because Serena doesn't play enough tournaments to get the rankings, so no one cares about rankings. And now we're kind of doing that with the ATP, especially if we take the real number one, Djokovic, who should have been able to defend his title at the Australian Open this year, but didn't get to. And now he's going to get 0 points from the Wimbledon. So very interesting. Anyways, take a look of the Tennis 365 article. This is the best one. Martin Fucsovics posted this. He's had a rough time of it, folks, lately. He hasn't won many matches in a while. No ranking points in Wimbledon. And ranking points will drop from 2021. No chance to defend them. Are you serious, ATP Tour? From 60 in the world, I will drop to a ranking of 130. Thank you. All right, let's go to, before we get into, we got some comments here, and of course we've got the draw. But before we get into that, let's go through some clips from my chat with the authors of this excellent book that I have read, and I do enjoy very much. I think I'm a better tennis player because of it. Essential Tennis, the name of the book, and the name of the YouTube channel. You should go subscribe to them and pick up the book. And of course, Peter from Crunch Time Coaching, the head sponsor of Coffee Break Tennis. That's why we have him below on the screen. Let's go to talking about the Wimbledon ban on the Russian players, and just talking about how is it going to affect the tournament in general. Like, was Medvedev really going to win?
Wimbledon said, we've taken into account guidance set by the UK government specifically in relation to sporting bodies and events. Circumstances of unjustified, unprecedented military aggression would be unacceptable for the Russian regime to derive any benefits from the involvement of Russian or Belarusian players within the Wimbledon championships. So they banned all Russian tennis players.
So Medvedev will not be playing?
Medvedev, who I think of all the next gen, well, I'm curious, what do you think of that, Ian? Who had the best shot at Wimbledon of all the next gen? Medvedev.
Oh, next gen? Yeah, Medvedev for sure.
Medvedev.
Yeah.
On the grass? Well, I mean, he was better last year. That was the thing. He didn't do well at Wimbledon, but last year he had a good run, and we know he's good on a low bounce.
How far did he make it last year?
In quarters.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
he's just looking a lot more comfortable in general. That's been the biggest thing with the next gen. You see him slipping and falling on the grass.
Yeah. Well, who would be the next gen player with the weaponry to consistently blow the ball past him, do you think? Like, who would be the kryptonite to Medvedev consistency?
I mean, I don't know. On the grass at Wimbledon? Out of the next gen?
Yeah.
Who of the next gen has done well but not made it all the way? Like, who, I've done well at Wimbledon. Like, has Zverev done well in Wimbledon in general? Team?
He's won grass court tournaments, and team has too, but they've never done well at Wimbledon. Maybe Zverev's made quarters like Medvedev now.
What's crazy to me is Tsitsipas has not done well at Wimbledon, but when you look at his game, big serve, he can flatten out the forehand, he's got the beautiful backhand, though he struggles with a chip, which might give him trouble, but looks solid in the net. I would think, stylistically, he would do better at Wimbledon, and maybe this might be the year he can stand out a little bit.
Well, removing Medvedev certainly helps.
I'm saying he hasn't done well, but why not?
I mean, he always looks bad on grass, though. He looks the worst out of all of them.
But I can't figure out why.
But he's the best YouTuber on the ATP Tour.
That's true.
So, +1 in my book.
So I thought that was interesting to look at some of our top players from the last 5 years that weren't in the big three, right? Zverev, Tsitsipas, and of course Dominic Thiem, the biggest of those three, you would say, until he kind of fell off the face of the earth after winning the 2020 U.S. Open with the injuries, not his fault. Dominic Thiem. But interesting that they all pretty much have identical records at Wimbledon. They've all made I was wrong, Medvedev too. I thought they'd made quarters. They'd made second week. I was close. Round of 16, one match before the quarters. They've all made the round of 16 different years. Medvedev, the most recent to do it last year. And they've all had embarrassing early round losses, mostly at the Wimbledons. Dominic Thiem also. No surprise with Dominic Thiem. No surprise with Tsitsipas. Maybe Zverev. Not as much of a surprise because we know how he likes to float backwards a lot. Whereas Medvedev, a little more like Rafa, stay back for a return and then like to come in closer and closer to the baseline and dictate play a little bit more. Zverev likes to dictate from a safe distance because he's so strong. It works against most players. Interesting that Zverev and Medvedev haven't done better. But honestly, I thought this would have been a good year. This would have been a good chance for Medvedev. I would have put him ahead of everyone except for maybe Sasha Zverev. It might be a good place for him if he's serving well. If he's having a bad serve day, then that could be a major danger for him. Anyways, we move on from there, though. Pete brings this up. And later, Pete is trying to change the subject because, this is why I love doing it this way. I get to control when they talk. I can press a button and put them in and out, And one thing I like about doing those shows with Pete, though, where I'm not totally in control, but one thing I can control, I can kind of push Pete's buttons and make him uncomfortable. I really enjoy that very much. Anyways, that's in the next clip. Let's look at this clip. Basically, I ask my guests, is it wrong to ban Russian players? What do you think of this? And Ian brilliantly states that bringing politics into sports never is a good thing, something I'm pretty fond of saying here at Coffee Break Tennis. And then he talks about what they originally were going to try to get the Wimbledons to do. Take a listen.
Going in the background.
Nice. So Matt, are we going to leave this topic though without asking everybody? I'm just going to put on you. What do you think about the Russians not being allowed to play? Do you think that's the right decision by Wimbledon or the wrong one?
I mean, there's no way to know which players, if Medvedev was going around saying I'm pro Putin, he's my guy, let's go, then I'd say, yeah, ban him. That makes sense. But you don't know, maybe these guys would speak out more, but they have family in Russia. Maybe Putin's going to throw your family in jail, you can't really.
Yeah, I think early on they were actually looking for players to publicly denounce the Russian government. And I mean, that puts them in a hell of a position as a Russian citizen to be yeah, boo, Putin, who's really going to do that if you're a Russian citizen? Yeah. So Wimbledon's in a tough spot too, but I don't know. Yeah, to bring politics into sports, I think is pretty tough.
Okay, let's go to another clip. I think I said enough about that one. We already said it earlier, but Ian brought up a good point in saying that they tried to get them to sign this pledge of allegiance against Russia and Putin, against the war in Ukraine, which would have been very dangerous for their family members. Literally, I mean that's not an exaggeration. And maybe you're going to say something like, "Well, Matt, people are dying in Ukraine." Okay, but are you really going to try to get your family members thrown in jail or worse by the Putin regime? Even if you hate Russia, I mean, they're Russian, they don't hate Russia. But even if you hate the Russian regime in charge right now under Vladimir Putin, you're not going to do anything to endanger your own family, I would think. I would assume. Anyways, Joel Chesnoff makes a good point in this next clip talking about how... And I really agree with him. I think typically when you see moves like this, it's politicians trying to appear as if they're doing something that is a little easier for them, right? It's a little drop in the bucket to do something like this from the British government to force Wimbledon to ban some players, as opposed to, take a listen.
The other question is it made me easier to ban tennis players and say we care than to actually get in there and put skin in the game and do something to save the lives of people who are dying. And that should be debated as well.
The number one purpose of politicians.
Get reelected.
As if they're doing something.
Oh, right.
What were you going to say?
To get reelected.
Oh, yeah.
So,
there you go.
Okay.
It'd be fascinating to hear from a Wimbledon official, their perspective of why do you feel the need to force the hand of
Wimbledon officials.
I heard it.
Official Wimbledon YouTube channel. Please comment below.
I love that Pete is trying to get ready to change it. Well, Matt, we don't want to talk about these political things all the time. It's making me a little bit nervous. And then Ian comes in and says, let's get, it'd be interesting to hear the officials from Wimbledon give their thoughts on that. Yeah, comment below. I'm sure most of them want to save their own necks too. Although it does sound like officials from Wimbledon, leaked it out. There's no name quoted, but they're saying they're upset. That's the word on the street. They're upset with the ATP that they were forced into this when they were basically already forced into it. They were forced into it by the British government. Now they're being forced to be stripped of their ranking points, making them the most prestigious tennis exhibition of all time. Probably will never be replicated again. All right, let's talk about Rafa. We're going to get into the French Open now. That's enough about Wimbledon. Wimbledon will be here before you know it, so we'll get a chance to talk about this stuff more. But let's play a clip up next where Ian is talking about how amazing it was that I just put this one in because it cracked me up, actually. He's talking about, we're going back to Indian Wells where Taylor Fritz won, of course, and Rafa almost wins with a cracked rib. Remember, he had all kinds of injuries popping up around then. The foot is now a problem again. We'll play some clips of that later if you didn't see Rafa in Rome losing to Shapovalov. He should have won the match. He was destroying Shapo, and then it was the foot giving him some serious issues. His movement just went away. If you can't move in tennis, you can't win, especially at the highest levels. Anyways, take a listen to this.
So, was that second set or third? They didn't go 3, right?
Second set, he almost
took it. Yeah.
Like,
With a cracked rib.
how do you feel about Taylor Fritz winning that day? How insulting to the sport.
Why are you hating on Taylor Fritz?
I mean, I like Fritz and all, but is that who you thought would be our Masters champion?
No, but there's so much volatility between Djokovic being deported and Rafa with a cracked rib, and Matt, the big 3 aren't going to be around forever. Like, you got to get used to other people winning at some point.
Comment below if you're a massive Taylor Fritz fan and you're disappointed in me. Do comment below. Is that who you thought would be our champion? Matt, the big 3 aren't going to be around forever. You got to get used to other people winning. No, I do not. These guys' time will come, but I just don't want to see the big 3 pushed over by someone who's not really ready to take over. You know what I mean? Next up, Pete talking about Rafa. Pete made some really good points on Rafa. What a tennis mind Pete is. Of course, what a tennis mind these guys are. They already wrote a freaking book about it. Play this clip.
Because I think Rafa, believe it or not, he's won so much on clay. If you notice in these later years, he's not afraid to lose on clay. I think he'd rather get the losses out of the way, get the cobwebs off, take a loss, and he can even make that little excuse in his head, like it's my first tournament, plus it's not my best tournament on clay. I'd rather him come back early as long as he's healthy and lose some and then get hot at the end.
Yeah, I think it's easy to assume that Rafa thinks he should win every tournament he enters, especially on clay. But yeah, I think I could totally see him having, look at that. Get him!
I was going to throw it at the guy running, but I forgot you can't do that. In tennis, you can just hit him with the ball.
Especially when they're like 7-year-old kids.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff to unpack there. I thought the best part was that Pete reminded me that I shouldn't throw a ball, a baseball, of all types of balls, at 7-year-old children. Because, to me, I was thinking, like, when in doubt, hit them with the tennis ball. That's how you win a point, right? You're at the net. You can't see a way around them or over them. Just hit them. I have no problem hitting people, unless you're very close. You don't want to do it Yvonne Lindell style. That's kind of frowned upon in tennis. Anyways, there's that. But then, of course, Rafa wins so much on clay. Now, this is before we knew how bad of a shape Rafa was in, that he was going to pull out in Rome the way he did, and it was going to look so painful. I mean, just let's put that on the screen right now. Let's get that out of the way. If you haven't seen this, take a look. If you're a big Rafa fan out there, it's a little painful to watch.
9 times in his career, Nadal has retired at tour level. Must be on his mind here. Not competitive now.
Rafa retires, a lot in the past, but credit to him for just getting through this match to the finish. And it was tough to watch. The big moment for me is this one. And then Rafa bends over like that. I mean, you've never seen Rafa do anything like that before. It's really incredible to watch. But there is this clip, too. Play this clip because, don't doubt Rafa at the French. He might be able to pull it together and win this thing still because, of course, he is like this when Rafa comes to town. Don't forget that ever. Anyways, before he got hurt, we're talking about they're saying, Rafa wins so much on clay, and Pete makes that great point that Rafa's not afraid at this stage in his career to lose. In the past, maybe, I'm not going to say he was super afraid when he got on clay. He felt pretty good when he got on clay. But, he wants to maintain like that streak. You remember he had that long winning streak on clay. He wants to win all these tournaments he goes to, and he always ends up, winning so many in a row, then going to one where he's just worn out. And then he freshens up and wins the French. That's how it's usually been watching Rafa in tennis the last 20 years, just about. But now, he makes this point that Rafa doesn't really care so much about these little tournaments. It's all, even if it is on clay. Win Barcelona one more time, that would be great. Win Rome again, that would be great. But he really cares the most, of course, and he should because it's the GOAT race. We're trying to get more majors over here. He cares the most about the French. And I had Pete reacting in that clip to someone saying Rafa shouldn't have come back at Madrid because he typically doesn't do well there and be better to come back at Rome. And Pete made a good point there saying Rafa needed to get as many matches under the belt as possible. Unfortunately, that all kinds of goes out the window when the last match you can barely even finish the match because of issues, physical issues. Ultimately, I asked the guys, is Rafa going to win this year? Take a look.
Is he going to win the French Open, though?
Who else looks strong?
No, I'm going to say no. I'm just
You're going out there?
I'm just going to say no, yeah.
No.
What about you, Joel?
Is Novak playing?
He's going to let him, which I think they're at this point today they're letting him play.
I'm looking at guys who are hot right now.
I'll take the field. I'll take the field over Rafa. Just
Pick
because.
someone, though, because we're going to be watching the semifinals, and it's going to be the field. One of these bozos. I mean, normally
Taylor Fritz.
Matt, what do you think?
Taylor Fritz again.
I mean, I'll go Novak.
Take a listen to Pete. Couple clips here. Pete talking about the French is wide open now with Rafa not totally healthy. And at the time, we didn't realize how bad things really are with Rafa.
I kind of agree with Ian that it's wide open. Like Nadal is still the favorite, but it's a little bit of a question mark because he's another year older. He's coming off an injury. Djokovic, you don't know how he's going to react. Everybody just assumes once you step on the court, you're there, but mentally, everything he's been through, this guy's taken a toll. He's not playing as much as he'd like to.
Yeah.
I mean, he almost quit tennis the last time he tried to come back after a long layoff because he couldn't win and he was losing his passion.
Yeah,
I know this is blasphemous, but if you look at the way he's hitting the ball, I mean, the game evolves. He is more evolved at 18 than Federer, than Djokovic, than Nadal.
Nadal said, so if anyone watching thinks Pete's crazy, Nadal said like the same exact thing in a press conference not that long ago.
After meeting him.
Yeah, right after beating him.
Gracious compliment.
Right, but Nadal is now one of the greatest of all time. Doesn't mean that, I'm saying, not winning-wise, but if you just look at everything he has, he's got tools. Even compare them there's a video where they're playing at 13, and you can see it's not even the same. Nadal looks like a kid who's just awesome. Alcaraz at 13 already looks like a man.
He also seems very mentally there, like happy and not sullen and dark the way Tsitsipas sometimes can be. So yeah, I like it.
All right, so a few things there. Ian switches his pick to Djokovic, which is smart. And I don't know if I put that in the clip, but I said something to Ian like, when we get to the semis, because Ian kept saying, I take the field over Rafa, which sounds like a pretty smart prediction to me. But then I said, all right, Ian, we're in the semifinals. Which one of these guys from the field do you think is going to beat Rafa in a semifinal and then a final? Right? Who is it? Who? And then Ian, I think that's when he said, okay, Djokovic is going to win because no one else is really positioned to do it. Maybe Alcaraz. Alcaraz is looking good. And then, of course, Pete says it's blasphemous, but Alcaraz at this age is more advanced than the big three. And Joel tried to say that basically, Rafa just beat him. Maybe he was being extra complimentary, and I don't think he was. And, sure, credit to Joel for being kind to Rafa in that way, but I think Rafa was for real. And then Pete talks about this video. I've never seen it. Comment below if you've seen it. There's a video of 13-year-old Rafa side by side with 13-year-old Alcaraz, and they compare them. And obviously, as Pete said, Alcaraz, and we've heard this for a while. I remember someone sent me a message right here at Coffee Break Tennis in Barcelona. I think it was Barcelona, several years ago, and said, hey, you got to check this guy out. I think he was 14 at the time, maybe 15. This guy is playing here in Barcelona, and he beat somebody in qualifying, who's like a top 200 player, and this 14, 15-year-old kid beats him. Alcaraz has been coming for a while, and as Pete said, Alcaraz has been, they've been working on building him up from a very young age and making him a beast, long before Rafa was a beast, at least. All right, anyways, that's enough. Do pick up the book. Let's go to some comments now. I had some good comments from last time. And then we'll go into the draw. We'll fly through the draw, and we'll get out of here. We'll be back. Lots of videos this French Open. During the first week, every year, thanks to the patron saints, God bless the patron saints, I usually cut my schedule of working down to almost nothing during the majors. That's how I'm able to make so many videos. That's why sometimes during some other tournaments, it can be very challenging for me to get some videos out there. I have a pretty busy schedule. I teach tennis lessons, usually 7 days a week. Today's an example of a day where I'm not teaching any tennis lessons, but I'm playing with my band until midnight tonight. So I'm always, I keep pretty busy when I'm not doing Coffee Break Tennis. Anyways, next week, unfortunately, I have some students that I really like that are going out of town for about a month with their family. They're from another country. They're going to go visit. Anyways, and, I have some other people, stories like that where I just couldn't justify canceling them. So during the first part of the first week this year at the Roland Garros, we're going to make videos, of course, but I might not be able to go daily right away. The second week, I am clearing out so we can blast off here at Coffee Break Tennis and really hit it hard with the videos and give me some time maybe to make a song if I'm struck by the inspiration to make a song for one of these players. Maybe it could be a Rafa song if he's able to pull it off. Maybe it could be an Alcaraz song if he's able to make the massive breakthrough. Don't know if I'll make another Djokovic song because the last one I did was, I don't think I can top it. Too good. Anyways, Tushar Singh says, thoughts on Rafa's chances at Roland Garros given his foot flaring up against the Chapeau? Well, we showed the clip. And I got to tell you, I don't feel very good. Before that, I was very confident in Rafa in that video with the writers of this book and with Peter from Crunch Time Coaching. I was very confident in Rafa's chances, of course. Everyone should be. After seeing him with the Chapeau match in Roma, not as confident, a little worried for him. Moving on to Jonathan Vandenbergler. What happened to Dominic Thiem? Well, I think we talked about that a little bit. But Dominic Thiem, he had a wrist sheath, I think, injury. It's just some kind of wrist injury. I believe Rafa has had it in the past. Didn't take as long as Dominic Thiem to come back from it. But this is a wrist injury that I've never had and hopefully will never have. And it's pretty serious. As you can tell, Dominic Thiem, he's back now, Jonathan Vandenberg. But Dominic Thiem, obviously, did he win a match? I think Dominic Thiem picked up one win. I mean, he's been competitive. Like, I saw him when he first came back. I don't know if it was first came back, but I think it was the first time he played on clay, at least that I saw this year, and that was against John Millman. And it was a good battle. You know, Millman's going to give you a battle. Thiem got to hit a lot of balls. Thiem, looks like the same tennis player. He's just not as sharp, and he doesn't have the confidence yet. I mean, it's mental at this level, Novak, that's why we like Alcaraz so much. In fact, I got some quotes from Uncle Toni talking about Alcaraz's mental game. And, it takes time to develop that. You don't just keep that forever. You got to go out there and win and play matches to maintain that confidence. That's why, Roger and Rafa, I think their confidence level is so extraordinary. That's how they were able to come back and win majors right away almost after 6 months or more layoffs of not playing any professional tennis tournaments. Not really even hitting balls at all when you're talking about a serious surgery in Roger's case. Brian Bondlander says, hi, Matt. I'd be very interested to hear your take on what it means. This feeds right into this one. What it means to play without self-consciousness and self-doubt along the lines of the inner game of tennis, which I started reading some years ago, but never finished, unfortunately. I should have finished it, because that's my biggest weakness on the tennis court, I think. I believe that what separates Alcaraz from Zverev, that is what separates Alcaraz from Zverev, and it's why Alcaraz can take down the world number one on their first meeting. How many players can say they did that with all the potential pressure that a new situation can have on the mental game? Thanks for the obvious time and effort that goes into your content. Oh, if you only knew how much time and effort goes into this. Anyways, yeah, like Djokovic said, everyone in the top 100 has great forehands and backhands and serves. Obviously, some are better than others. But for the most part, they're all very good. It's all mental. That's what divides the top 10 players from everyone else. And as far as playing without self-consciousness and self-doubt, that is a very tricky thing to do. I don't think I've ever done it. The only time I can do it is when I'm hitting with a friend of mine, I've been thinking, I just need to throw a camera up behind me and put some clips of me, because people in the past said they want to see me play. I should put some clips on there, because that is like the best I ever play. It's a friend of mine. We've known each other for years. We've been practicing for years and years. We're both good players. He's got a really big serve, and he's really big ground strokes, big power game. And we have some really incredible, spectacular, entertaining points, and we crush beers the whole time. It's not the healthiest thing to do while we usually go 3 sets, and a lot of times it'll be like 7-5, 6-7, 7-6, and we'll drink like 6 beers each while we're out there playing for 2.5, 3 hours long. Anyways, that's like the only time I can play without self-consciousness or self-doubt. I might think a little bit about my technique, because I am working on it, trying to get better, but for the most part, I just play free and I play super hyper aggressive. That is when I feel like I'm Roger Federer. When I play with him. That's the only time. Every time else I play someone, I'm a little defensive and a little cautious and doubting myself. So I don't know how to do it other than it doesn't matter at all, because you're drinking beers with a good friend of yours and no one's watching. It doesn't matter. It's just a practice. Like, that's the only way to play like that. So when you see someone like a big three, Roger, Rafa, Novak, or someone like young Alcaraz, it's really an incredible thing to see. You know, there's thousands of people watching in the stands, thousands of people around the world. How do these guys do it? I don't know. Nobody knows. That's why, they sell out. People line up to watch Djokovic or Federer, whoever, Rafa, Alcaraz. You'll see it when next time you go to a tennis tournament and Alcaraz or one of these guys is there. People will just be crowding around to see them just like warming up on a practice court, hitting lightly. And then you go to some ATP 250s and like there's no one there for the real matches. And these guys, they can hit a forehand or backhand just as good, almost, kind of. But mentally, they'll never be able to perform like that and with that kind of pressure for the biggest prizes or the biggest exhibitions in the case of Wimbledon. Next, Dennis Daly, who is very reliable to come up with good questions and good comments here in the comment section at Coffee Break Tennis. In relation to the drop shot, Alcaraz tends to hit hard, pushing the opponent back, then playing the drop shot with amazing disguise. 95% of the time he drops to the ad court. That is very interesting. I didn't know that, but now that I think of it, Alcaraz might hit more forehand drop shots than backhand. So I guess you could say, you're setting up to hit forehand and then you're dropping cross court. Maybe that's just more natural for him, but that is interesting. 95% of the time he's dropping it to the ad court. It does seem to be that way. Of course, it is executed so well and invariably wins the point. Here's a clip of him and Djokovic practicing. Djokovic actually, take a look. Djokovic is going to drop shot after the banging the ball pretty big for a while. He's going to drop shot Alcaraz, and Alcaraz is going to redrop him for the winner. Yes, he invariably usually does win the points when he hits a drop shot. In that respect, he uses it better than Federer, who only started using it in his age 33 years plus. However, Federer can drop to either side and from the backhand as well. Yeah, there you go. He has more options. Also, Alcaraz plays it because he plays more clay. I really hope Alcaraz has good luck with the injuries in his career. I really like his playing style, his mentality. He is the real deal. Yes, he is indeed. That is interesting that he does that. But I guess, I typically would hit. I'm trying to think now. I really can't tell you. Like, I guess, I find myself hitting backhand to backhand. I like to get people in that cross-court backhand rhythm. So when you put it up the line, they're further away in the cross-court corner. That would make sense. Alcaraz is hitting inside out. He's kind of doing what I do, but with the forehand. He's hitting inside out forehands, let's say, in a lot of cases. And then he cuts it cross-court into the ad court. So maybe that's why he does that. Anyways, let's go to one more comment. Moaning Pheromones. 2020 has been ball sheet. Ball sheet. Interesting how he put that there, because technically I'm not saying a curse word, which we do not encourage here on the family show Coffee Break Tennis. Australian Open and 2 Masters in the USA and no world number 1. He's got a good point. This goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like, the ATP's kind of hurt themselves. They've taken away some of the legitimacy to their ranking system. Other players prosper in his absence, and then he has to regain match fitness in the clay season, which is obviously not his best surface. Now Wimbledon bans players. Bad year for tennis. Carlos is rising. I just enjoy what could be the last 1 or 2 years that he's 50-50 with other top tenors. Then he's going to spank them like they are children, which, of course, here at Coffee Break Tennis, we very much encourage spanking grown men on the tennis court like they are children. Tennis world, Toni Nadal, Carlos Alcaraz is superior to the other next-gen players. We'll read that, and then we'll go into the draw. Toni Nadal, Rafa's uncle and former coach, expressed his thoughts on Alcaraz in an editorial published in the newspaper El País. Physically, he is a marvel. His determination is enviable, and technically, he has no shortcomings. If a few months ago we talked about the power and speed of his forehand, today we have to mention his dizzying improvement in the backhand, in the serve, and in the flying shots. This is likely translated from Espanol, and maybe he means like when he's in the air. Like they said in that 2005 U.S. Open final, a tennis coach I had, first tennis coach I ever worked with when I was in my early 20s, after I'd spent years developing very ugly strokes and making bad habits that would take me over a decade to undo, he said to me, the moment he knew that Roger Federer was the greatest of all time was in that U.S. Open final against Agassi, and Federer is backing up to hit like an inside-out forehand, I think, and Federer jumps in the air, and, yes, I know players come off the ground to hit, but he said, like, the way Federer did it in this case, it wasn't quite the same, like your legs are taking, your legs are loading up the hips and the shoulder rotation to smack a forehand, and you're just happening to take off the ground as you do it. In this case, Federer was just flying through the air and still was able to hit a ball so hard with so much force and so much accuracy. I think he might have pulled it inside in that case. I can't remember. It's been a long time, obviously. But when he was flying in the air and able to put that much work on the ball for a clean winner, That's when he knew that this guy was different than all the previous generations that he had seen. And this was a coach who was in his 60s at that point, so he'd seen a lot of tennis players. Anyways, today I don't see any player of the so-called next gen. I love Toni Nadal dumping on the next gen, just like I was dumping on Taylor Fritz in those clips I played for you with Ian Westerman. Ian really did provoke me there, saying, Matt, the big three are going to have to retire at some point. The next gen, no one from the so-called next gen can overshadow Alcaraz. One lacks mentality. Another has I forgot about this. He's not naming them, but he's calling them out without saying their names. One of these next gen guys, he lacks the mentality. Probably Zverev. Another one has problems with pushing. Some with backhand. Maybe that's Zverev. Maybe Tsitsipas is lacking mentality. I don't know. Some with the backhand. Others with tournaments on clay, and almost all with continuity. And obviously, others with tournaments on clay. That's talking about Medvedev. Is not very good on clay. And all with continuity and determination. No matter how good tennis players are, and some are, I think none of them have the full characteristics that Alcaraz combines. And then finally, from the Sportskeeda, this is just an earlier in the year time when Uncle Tony, he talked about it. This is where he says what Pete was saying. So in case you think Pete's crazy, this is from Uncle Tony. They are different players, but they have things in common. Talking about Rafa and Alcaraz. It's from earlier in the year. It was Toni Nadal comparing Carlos to Rafa. All the people who play very well have things in common. The first is the will and the desire to win. That's mental. Nowadays, it is difficult to see a boy who is very focused at a young age. That's very true. I teach young boys in tennis, so I've seen it before. From the first time I saw him play, he already surprised me. Carlos at his age is more complete than Rafa was at his age at a technical level. He's a very complete player with a very aggressive and very modern game, playing the ball very quickly. He has very good technique, and he looks very focused. He has a very hopeful future. Uncle Tony on Carlos Alcaraz. All right, let's go to the draw. It is a draw show, and we're doing the draw last. I don't know why, but I guess because, that's big news, taking the points away from Wimbledon. You kind of have to lead with that. You can't blame me. And, of course, very excited to promote this book from Ian Westerman and Joel Chestnoff, Essential Tennis. Anyways, put the draw on the screen. Now, hold on. Before I put it on the screen, I have taken mental abuse in the past. Mental abuse from people watching and commenting below, mocking my handwriting. So, this time, what hurts me makes me stronger, something like that. Or doesn't hurt me, sticks and stones. I can't remember a saying like that. Anyways, I've worked very hard to improve my handwriting just for this draw show. So do comment below on my new and improved handwriting and how much better it looks compared to previous draw shows as I put this on the screen. Here is the draw for the 2022 Roland Garros French Open. You'll notice Nole I have going pretty far, but I do not have a pick for Alcaraz or Nole. I don't know. I want to see them. I'm not making the pick yet. I'm not going to advise you how to pick that if you're making a racket bracket kind of deal. Let's start with Nole's quarter, however. He will take out Nishioka. Alex Molcan, I've seen him winning a lot lately on clay. In fact, I think he just played today like in a final in France. Not at the French Open, somewhere else. That doesn't always work out. If you overdo it and then you go show up and play at the French Open right away, you might lose first round. But he's playing Federico Coria, who hasn't been winning so much. He's had some wins on clay so far in this season, but I'm going to go with Alex Molcan. And then Nole is going to destroy him. Aljaz Bedene has not been winning. Christopher O'Connell, it's not like he's been tearing it up on the clay either, but I believe he has some wins. And his stock has just been rising in the last couple years. So I'm going to go with O'Connell over Bedene. And Pablo Cuevas from Uruguay, which I represented in the middle school Olympics. That was my country. Fun fact there. I think he's going to go down to Jensen Brooksby, another guy who is very much on the rise. Brooksby's had some good wins on the clay. He's had some good wins in general this year. I'm going to put Brooksby in the third round, going down to Nole. Grigor Dimitrov has unfortunately had to play Tsitsipas a lot lately. But other than that, he's done pretty well. And I'm going to say Dimitrov takes out Marcus Giron. Borna not winning, but losing in 3 sets a lot, playing some good players. I'm going to say Borna is ready to pick up some wins here, or pick up a win. I don't know. Has Coric won any matches other than maybe a challenger or something? If he's won, he's only won a couple times this year in general, but he's had, every time he's lost, it's always been a tough 3-set match. And then, like I said, against some very good players. This Carlos Tabernet guy, I haven't seen him doing much, so I'm going to take Coric. I'm going to take Dimitrov over Coric, though. Jaume Munar, Daniel Altmaier. Another one tough to pick. I'll go with Jaume Munar, the Spanish Jerry Seinfeld, even though he hasn't been doing as well on clay as everyone thought he would some years ago. Kuznetsov going down to Schwartzman. Shorty D going... I'm going to give Diego... I'm going to have him losing in the third round to Dimitrov, and, of course, Nole destroying Grigor Dimitrov in the fourth round. Is that the fourth round? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, that was the round of 16. All right, below that section. Felix all day. Not a good start in Marrakesh for Felix, but he's done better since then. So we're going to give him the win over the qualifier, Juan Pablo Varillas. Karatsev. Talk about a sophomore slump. And I think we did talk about this towards the end of the year. We said, I said, yeah, Karatsev, there's a lot of great things about his game. He should be able to do well, but we commonly see guys do shoot up the rankings, have a good year for the first time, and then the next year is not so good. Karatsev's in that right now. Can he beat Hugo Carabel Camilo, the Argentinian qualifier? I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say Felix takes him out. But, man, Felix, I don't trust him a lot. Wonder what Uncle Tony wants to say about his mental game. Alejandro Tabilo and Borna Gojo. I have never heard of either of those players from Chile and Croatia qualifier. I went with Tabilo from Chile because I really like Fernando Gonzalez, and because I qualifier from Croatia, Gojo, I've never heard of him. Opelka I will take, although I put a question mark next to his name because I don't trust him a whole lot either. Robotic Van de Schulp, dude's been on the up for a while now. No reason to say that he won't win against a qualifier. I'll take Fabio Fognini. Oh, that's a tough first round for him and Popperin. Popperin. Anytime you play someone with a serve that big, it's not ideal in the first round. Not that Popperin's been great lately. We'll take Botic, and I'll take Fabio over Botic, but that's a tough one there. But Fabio, he can play amazing on clay, so we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Says he does it. Now, this is the crazy thing. Djokovic has Rafa in his same quarter. Rafa and Novak in the quarterfinals. We thought we were going to see that the last two major tournaments on clay. We did not see that in Madrid. We did not see that in Roma. So, Stan the man against Corentin Moutet. I'm going with Stan. He's picked up some wins. He likes playing on clay. Of course, he's a French Open champion. Jordan Thompson first up for Nadal. I'm going to say Stan comes through. That's a tough one to pick, though. And then Rafa, I think, comes through. I think Rafa comes through there against Fabio. This shouldn't be so bad for Rafa to beat a Stan who's not himself, who's moving a lot slower, but still striking the ball very well. Movement is everything at this level. Movement and mental. It's the two M's. It really is what separates the top players from everyone else with incredible strokes. There's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of college players who can't get into the top 500 in the world who have strokes that look just as good. Rafa... Felix, yeah, I'll go with Rafa over Felix. Wonder what Uncle Tony's going to do for that match. And then Nole, I got to take Nole over Rafa. But like I said, you bet against Rafa at your own peril. Let's go below that, Zverev section. It's going to be very interesting to see how healthy Rafa is. I'm going to be changing my predictions. I might take Rafa over Nole if Rafa looks like there's no problems. But he looked like there was no problems as he was destroying El Chapo in Rome. And then things escalated quite quickly. I'm pretty sad about Rafa, actually. Really hope this isn't how it's going to end for him. Sasha Zverev, we'll take him over the qualifier. Sebastian Ofner from Österreich, where Dominic Thiem is from. Dusan Lajovic, I'll take him over Sebastian Baez. Zverev over Lajovic. Maybe Lajovic has a small chance of upset there. Depends how Zverev is doing. Brandon Nakashima, I'll take over Kamil Majorak from Poland because that guy hasn't been winning at all. And, Nakashima, he's pretty good. People get excited about U.S. players, say, this could be a great U.S. champion. I don't think any of them are too great. I've said for a while now that I think Taylor Fritz is the most talented of them, and I don't think he's going to be a multi-Grand Slam champ either. Talon Griekspoor against, people are calling Alejandro, maybe because they can't say Davidovich Fokina, some of them say Davidovich. Some people out there say that. So now people are calling him ADF. But if you've seen that thing about the fake German heiress who's Russian, what was her name? Anna Sorokina. You've seen that on Netflix? I watched it. In some ways, it's terrible. But I thought that actress did a good job of playing this interesting character to me. Very bad writing in some cases in that show. Anyways, she was always talking about her Anna Delvey Foundation, the ADF, the Anna Delvey Foundation. That's how she talks. So I think that's interesting that now people are calling him ADF, the Anna Delvey Foundation. I'll take the Anna Delvey Foundation over Nakashima and going down to Sasha Zverev, who also is a German fake Russian like Anna Delvey, or a Russian fake German, depending how you look at it. John Isner, I'll take over Quinton Howells. I'll take Daniel Taro. He's been winning on clay a little bit. Then, since we're doing ADF here, let's go BZM, and that is Bernabe Zapata Morales. And I'll take him over Michael Moe, who got a wild card here. That must be, how did he get the wild card? That must be one of those things where the U.S. Open gives a French player a wild card, and the French Open gives the U.S. a wild card for a younger, although Michael Moe, how old is he? He's not super young. I wonder how he got that wild card. Is that one of those exchanges where they trade? Usually it's for younger talent. I feel like Michael Moe's already in his mid-20s. Maybe I'm way wrong. Doesn't matter because he ain't going to win. He's going down in the first round. And if he doesn't, our boy Taylor Fritz, who I like, believe it or not, even though I dumped on him earlier a bit. I think Taylor Fritz comes through against John Isner. I don't know how Isner is going to do. Both Fritz and Isner, we haven't seen them play on clay much at all this year. So that's kind of a mystery. I'll take Zverev over them. Although you never know with Sasha Zverev, and those guys are equipped with the weaponry to where they could pull off the upset, both Isner and Fritzy. Cam Norrie, the guy's been outstanding for a long time now. Well over a year of excellence from Cam Norrie. We will take Cam Norrie. Alcaraz is at the very bottom. Will we get a rematch? Remember, before Alcaraz did the unthinkable and beat Rafa and Novak back-to-back, he had a very tough match with Cam Scam Norrie. Dominic Thiem is in there. We'll take qualifier Kubler over Kudla because clay is not his surface, man. Grass is his surface. He's one of those guys who's got to hate getting no points at Wimbledon. Imagine if he made it to like the quarters, he gets 0 points. That really hurts you when you're like struggling to stay in the top 100. Anyways, Cam Norrie will come through whoever in that section. Hugo Delin, I think Dominic Thiem can take him. Kachanov, I'll take. Kachanov over Thiem. I think Thiem will get one win. Maybe he could beat Kachanov. Unlikely. Norrie comes through, doesn't matter. Norrie will beat Thiem too. Sebastian Korda, we all know I like to dump on him. He's going down first round to Millman. Maybe I'll regret that later. But if he doesn't, he's definitely going down to Alcaraz. If he beats Alcaraz, I might start respecting him a little more. I mean, he's got a great game. He's got a lot of stuff to like, but I don't trust him mentally. Gasquet, I'll take over Lloyd Harris. Gasquet impressed me the other day with a win over Medvedev. Gasquet beat Medvedev recently. I was impressed with how Gasquet was playing. I'm going to put him to win against Lloyd Harris, the fart face, who makes that awful face when in the middle of a service motion. Alberto Ramos Vinolos, ARV. Some people are calling him that, huh? I think the Cockmeister, Tanasi Kakinakis, will take him out. Alcaraz will clean up. I got Alcaraz going against Zverev. That is a must-see match. I think Alcaraz beats him again, but if Zverev wants the tennis world to respect him, we won't crumple this up. We'll keep it for the tournament. This would be a great chance. I mean, obviously, he has respect from the tennis world, Sasha Zverev. He is one of the best players in the world. But if people want to continue, if he wants people to continue thinking he's a favorite to take the mantle, take over for Roger Rafa, Novak, he's going to need to beat Alcaraz here. I don't think he will, though. Alcaraz is, he's something special. Bottom half of the draw, less exciting, but we'll go through it really quick. Hit the music, because we're going to do this fast. We got to get out of here. Running out of time here. Casper Ruud Boy, Tsonga, sad that Tsonga's going to have to play the right-handed version of Rafa. Kind of say that. He is more like Rafa than Alcaraz is in the way he plays, Casper Ruud. Casper Ruud, very good on clay. You'll remember last year, everyone thought he was going to have a great run. He was practicing with Rafa leading up to it, and Rafa saying, yes, he's very good on clay. He's got to play Tsonga up first. This will be Tsonga's farewell, I think, to the French. That's a shame. He's going to have to play someone so tough in the first round. Of course, I'm taking Casper Ruud. I didn't fill this one out, but I'll take Emil, our friend Emil Ruud Savory, over Ugo Humbert. Ugo Humbert, he is French, obviously, but I think he's better on other surfaces. He's got a flatter ball. I think Emil Ruud Savory's forehand maybe could bully him around on a clay court. Souza and qualifier from Chinese Taipei. I'll take Yao Souza. Or Souza, as some people say. Peter Gojovic, I'll take Lorenzo Sonego. Not that he's been too good this year either. Sonego going down to Ruud. Tiafoe over Bonzi. David Goffin over Yuri Laheka, the Czech guy. Goffin over Tiafoe. Tiafoe always disappoints. can rely on him to disappoint. So Goffin, who's been struggling but now starting to find form again, he should take out TFO. Cecchinato, very much struggling. This is the site where he beat Djokovic in 2018, I think it was. He did have a good win recently. Didn't Cecchinato beat Dominic Thiem recently, I think? Well, it's Thiem on the comeback trail, but still. Cecchinato has not been winning much. Not at all. For a long time. Pablo Andujar, older player. I think Cecchinato's got him. This is his chance to get back in the win column at a special place for him after he beat Djokovic here some years ago. Hubie Hurkacz, Hubie who smokes doobies, who else? I'm going to spread rumors about him because, if you beat Roger at Wimbledon, just like Milos Raonic, who we just hated here, we hate Hubie now too. I think he'll take Cecchinato. He'll smoke him like a doobie, Hubie, and then he'll beat Goffin. I hope he loses. He'll definitely lose to Casper Ruud boy. We hope. Shapo section. Do we hate Shapo after the way he beat Rafa? We can't blame him too much. Rafa couldn't win. Couldn't we say the same thing about Hubie? No. I'm going to take Shapo over Holger Vitas Nodskovi Rune, the guy with all the names. You know, the little kid who did he beat recently? He beat Zverev. My God. This is the guy from Instagram, right? This was just the guy we just saw hitting balls really hard on Instagram. And then you see him, you're like, okay, he looks like he should be number one in the world, but we know that tennis is very mental at the highest levels. Well, now he's starting to have some good wins. He's been tearing it up on clay this year. This is a must-see. I put a star next to it because you got to watch this match. I'm going to take Shapo, but I'm a little reluctant there against this Instagram kid, Holger Rune. Martinez, Laxinen. We'll take Martinez, who's kind of similar to Pablo Carreño Busta. We'll take Shapo. We'll take Shapo going fairly far. We'll take the Demon over Hugo Gaston. You'll remember him. He hits a bunch of drop shots. Dirty Dan will take over Cerundolo. Don't know which of the Cerundolo brothers that is, but one of them did really well at Miami this year. Michael Emer will take him over the Ducky. Luca Pui will take him. Tsitsipas, another star match. Lorenzo Musetti, Tsitsipas. Sucks for both of them with their beautiful one-handed backhands that they'll have to play in the first round. That's a must-see match. I'm going to take Tsitsipas, but there's some danger for Tsitsipas fans there. We'll take Tsitsipas over Dirty Dan. We'll take Shapo over the Demon. We'll take Shapo over... Oh, no, excuse me. We'll take Steph Tsitsipas over Shapo. Must-see Casper Ruud and Steph Tsitsipas in a quarterfinal. You know who I'm putting in the bottom half. Rublev, I think he can win. I think Sinner should be able to take Rublev out. That's a tough one to pick, though. Delbonis hasn't been doing well. Manarino really not doing well in clay. We'll take Delbonis. Rublev over Delbonis. We'll take Ivashka, who was pretty good on clay last year, pretty good on clay this year, too, over Benoit Paire, although he is French, of course. We'll take Tommy Boy over Christian Garin, although Christian Garin is good on clay. That's another you should watch that match. Could be a five-setter, could be a good match. We'll take Tommy Paul again over Ivashka, although I'm not too confident in that pick, but that's what I'm going with here if I have to pick. And we'll take Rublev. Maximus Cressius, we'll take him over Basilashvili, who's not the best clay court player. We'll take Smacky McDonald. Cressy beats him, I hope. I think Cressy's an interesting player to watch, someone who serves and volleys all the time. First and second serve, it's kind of rare, so hopefully he wins a couple rounds. I think he can be effective on clay. Oscar the Otter, we'll take him. He's pretty good on clay, too. We'll take Yannick Sinner over Born Fratellangelo for D'Angelo. We'll take Sinner over Oscar the Otter. We'll take Sinner over Maximus Cressius. We'll take Sinner over Rublev, but that's a tough one to pick. Pablo Carreño Busta will take over Gilles Simon, who's also saying farewell and retiring. He's a French player. This will be his last French Open. Can't pick Stevie Johnson or Yuri Vesely. Yuri Vesely, yeah, he beat Djokovic in Dubai. He went all the way to the finals and lost to Mr. Rubles. And both him and Stevie Johnson are not doing anything on clay. Who do you pick? I don't know. Maybe go Stevie Johnson, just way more experience. Martin Fucsovics. I took the qualifier over him. He's so mad about Wimbledon. He's had such a rough time of it. We'll take Geoffrey Blanchet, the young Frenchman qualifier. We'll take him over Marty Fucsovics, who's just got to be so peed off, as they say in middle school. Marin Cilic, we'll take him over the Hungarian. Kecmanovic, we'll take him over Echeverry. We'll take Rinder Kaneshi over Bublik, because Bublik doesn't even want to win. He hates clay. We'll take Laszlo Jera over Barancas, and I'm going to say slight upset alert. You see those question marks? Medvedev, yeah, he'll win the first round, hopefully for him, because he ain't playing no Wimbledon. Jera has a chance to upset Medvedev. I'd give him a real shot. Kecmanovic has a shot. If he can get through there, I'd like Medvedev to beat Cilic. I like Sinner to beat Medvedev. I like Steph Tsitsipas to beat Sinner and go back to the final where it's going to be Nole or Alcaraz. Do comment below what you think. Did I say hit the music while I was doing that bottom half of the draw? What a pain in the ass is going to have to be for me to loop the music like 20 times in a row. We will be back very soon, Monday, to talk about Sunday's matches and Monday's matches. And we will be back a whole lot more after that. It's French Open Grand Slam time, baby. Wimbledon's just around the corner. It's the best, most wonderful time of the tennis year. See ya!